Hi, I'm Dan from dansbesttech.com. A few weeks ago, I had my 30th birthday, the same day the Oculus Quest was released, and my beautiful wife bought it for me. This is my 2 to 3 month review of the best standalone VR headset ever released. No tethering to a high-end PC is required for you to enjoy VR gaming, but is it worth the sacrifices? Let's find out. The cost for the VR headset is either $400 for the 64GB version or $500 for the 128GB version. These prices get you controllers and a charging cable, everything you need to start gaming in VR. Current games aren't that large at around 1 to 2 gigabytes, so I recommend saving $100 and sticking with the 64GB version for $400. Compared to the Oculus Rift's launch price of $600 plus $200 extra for controllers and the $800 launch price for the HTC Vive, $400 doesn't seem that bad. Regarding the requirements, unlike the Oculus Rift and HTC Vive, you don't need to plug the headset into a high-end gaming PC. That's right, no expensive computer is required if you aren't a PC gamer. No cable is required for you to trip on, and no Windows operating system is required if you prefer to use other operating systems on your computer like Mac or Ubuntu. Regarding the hardware, and as I stated before, both the 64 and 128GB storage options for the Oculus Quest are enough space for games in my opinion. It is powered by 4GB of RAM and the 2-year-old Snapdragon 835 mobile processor. Each OLED lens produces 1440 by 1600 resolution at 72Hz refresh rate. The headset offers 6 degrees of freedom using the inside-out tracking from the 4 sensors on the headset itself. The headset comes with a power button, a volume rocker, and an interpupillary distance or IPD slider, and a USB-C port for charging. The IPD slider can adjust from 58 to 72 millimeters. The Quest feels premium with fabric accents. It weighs 571 grams versus the 470 grams from the Oculus Rift, and its battery lasts 2 to 3 hours on a charge. The controllers are great. They not only track your hands like on the HTC Vive and PlayStation Move controllers, but they track your fingers as well. It even has capacitive buttons. For the most part, the inside-out tracking is perfect. It is way better than that of the PSVR, which required me to sit a certain distance from the camera. It doesn't require any light boxes or sensors that you have to plug into an outlet or your computer like on the HTC Vive and Oculus Rift. It just works. That said, if the sun is shining brightly into a section of the room, the tracking will become jerky and you might lose tracking. It's probably a good idea to close the blinds before playing. The Quest, in my opinion, is the best thing to happen to VR gaming since the Oculus Rift and HTC Vive were released. This is because of portability. One simply can't watch an ad to experience what VR is. You have to put the headset on and try it firsthand to know what it is. That's hard to do when the headset is hooked up to a computer or PlayStation 4. The Quest is an attractive option because you can bring it anywhere and show it to anyone. Instead of being confined to wherever you have your Vive set up, you can bring the Quest into the living room, the bedroom, another home, the office, a party, or anywhere else. This portability should increase the adoption and success of VR, and the more successful VR is, the more developers will make high-quality games for it. Speaking of games, the Oculus Quest launched with more than 50 titles, but the number of games still feels lacking right now when compared to Steam VR and PSVR. That said, that's how I feel when any new gaming system launches. One game I found really fun was Vader Immortal. It's not just a great VR game, and it's not just a great Star Wars game, it is a great game. I felt like I was experiencing this world. I could almost smell the smoke when seeing Darth Vader for the first time. I couldn't believe how close they got the voice to sound just like James Earl Jones. Very high quality and very well done. The lightsaber battles were fun and challenging. There was just the right amount of it too, as it didn't get repetitive. My only complaint though is that many VR games right now are asking players to turn dials, push buttons, and this can start to feel repetitive even in Vader Immortal. Speaking of pushing buttons, don't forget to smash that like button down below. Another great game on the Oculus Quest is Beat Saber, and it is just as epic as usual. The game is like Guitar Hero and Rock Band in VR, but instead of guitars, it has lightsabers. It has you slicing through blocks to the music. After playing custom songs on the HTC Vive though, playing the limited number of stock songs on the Oculus Quest felt a little lacking. Luckily, many modding apps are making it easier each day to add new custom songs to Beat Saber on the Oculus Quest. There are various apps to do this, like SideQuest and Oculus Quest Beat Saber Song Installer. Although there are many great tutorials available for how to do this, I myself am going to wait until custom songs are integrated into the official build of Beat Saber. Anyways, I just wish I had a larger room to take advantage of the room scale. Room scale allows rooms up to 25 feet by 25 feet. That is insanely awesome. I don't even have enough space for the recommended 6.5 feet by 6.5 feet. Luckily, you can still play games inside your barrier. It will even warn you when you get close to the edge. That way, you won't punch a wall. Now, if only it could prevent me from stepping on my dog. So are the specs good enough? To me, I care about screen door effect, aliasing or text readability, and Godrays, and above all else, the quality of the games. So what is screen door effect? Screen door effect, or SDE, is the effect of your eyes being so close to the pixels on the display that you can see the gap between each pixel, making it look like you are looking through a screen door. One way to counter this is to increase the resolution of the display. The Oculus Quest has a higher resolution of 1440 by 1600 per eye than the Oculus Rift and HTC Vive. Therefore, SDE is reduced. That said, resolution isn't everything. The PlayStation VR headset's lower 960 by 1080 resolution per eye provides the best or least SDE. This is because Sony increased the sub-pixel count for each pixel in their RGB display. The increased sub-pixel count helps each pixel blend together better, reducing the screen door effect. All this said, the Oculus Quest's SDE is better than the Oculus Rift and HTC Vive, but not as good as the PS4 VR. Aliasing or anti-aliasing and text readability all have to do with the graphical power and game design. Playing VR games using the graphical power of a PC will obviously have more anti-aliasing than that of a mobile phone processor. Therefore, in theory, text and lines in games will not be as clear on the Oculus Quest. That said, when the HTC Vive and Oculus Rift were first released on the PC, many games used small text that were barely readable. Since then, game developers have increased text size in VR games, making the text much easier to read, so the text readability on the Oculus Quest is perfectly fine. As far as aliasing and jaggies on the Oculus Quest, they are worse than on the HTC Vive and Oculus Rift, but you won't notice them unless you do a side-by-side comparison. Games can also be super sampled on the HTC Vive and Oculus Quest to sharpen text and remove jaggies even further. Some say super sampling even helps hide some of the screen door effect. The Quest doesn't have enough power to super sample. Godrays are like blurry lens flares when bright objects are juxtaposed against dark backgrounds. They were really bad on the Oculus Rift. They were so bad I even sold it. I couldn't stand them. They are still present on the Oculus Quest, but they are not nearly as distracting like they were on the Oculus Rift. I'd say they are comparable to the Godrays on the HTC Vive and PSVR. That leads me to game quality. The game quality on the Oculus Quest is top-notch. I think Oculus Quest ported over only the very best VR games that existed on PC. Therefore, if Oculus had to sacrifice some graphical power in order to make the VR experience portable and more convenient, then that is just fine to me as long as the games are still fun. And there is a huge benefit to an almost instant access to games without having to plug everything into a computer and launching the games from the computer. The Oculus Quest is much more user-friendly VR experience than anything I've used before. Take the PSVR for instance. My PS4 sits on the TV unit on the other side of the living room from my couch, and the cable that connected the headsets didn't reach far enough, so I had to move my PS4 and the camera to the coffee table in the center of the room. My wife was not happy. Long story short, I returned the PSVR. What if the Oculus Quest doesn't have the game I want to play? What if I'm not happy with the graphics quality on the Oculus Quest? ALVR and vRidge give you the ability to play Steam VR and Rift games wirelessly through your computer. Of course, this requires you to have a high-end PC with a high-end graphics card and a very fast 5 GHz reliable Wi-Fi connection. The good news is that vRidge, when used on the Oculus Quest, supports 6 degrees of freedom. That's very exciting. The bad news is that you'll get the occasional screen freeze or streaming artifact. There are some compatibility hiccups too. Therefore, the experience won't be perfect, but for some exclusives, it might be worth it. So in conclusion, should you buy the Oculus Quest? If you want a VR headset that is a standalone with no gaming PC required, has only the highest quality of games, doesn't have cables around for you to trip on, and is a lower price than the HTC Vive Pro, then the Oculus Quest is for you. That said, the cost might still be prohibitive for your budget, the games are limited at this time, graphics aren't as good as those on a gaming PC, the screen door effect and Godrays are still present, and previously purchased games don't port over. Click like if you like this video, please subscribe if you want to see more, and check out dansbesttech.com for a full written review. Okay, how's my pants? How's my butt? I didn't put on a belt. My butt good?
Your butt's good.
Okay.